Hey YouTube, it's me, BrandonColonel again. The next video that I have for you is on the Lightning OTF. Now, when I first bought this knife, it was actually a knife that I bought off of Blade HQ. For whatever reason, I can't find these on Blade HQ anymore. Now, if you just randomly search for Lightning OTF on Google, then you'll find a couple of places that are selling them. But I don't actually know if it's the company itself that's selling them or just simply authorized dealers. I really don't know. I did see the official company while I was at Blade Show, but I don't really know what the actual company is or if it's just Lightning. Because I did see them with a bunch of Lightning OTFs, but I also saw them with a new knife that they have, or two new knives. One I think was called the Mark IV, and one was also a collaboration effort with Anthony Marfione's son. I can't remember what his name is, but whoever is the owner of Heretic Knives, they were actually making a production run of his blade. And I wanted to buy that one, but I didn't have enough money to do so. But this knife, I've actually been sitting on for well over a year. But I was unable to do a review on it because I couldn't carry it around with me. I was able to do the testing on it, but I couldn't legitimately carry it around and find out how it worked in everyday settings. I couldn't carry it to work with me. I couldn't carry it around town. So I couldn't get a true and legitimate sense for how this does. But now that I found it recently at Blade Show, that in Georgia, you can legally carry these things without a permit anymore. Now this has been a recent change, like in the past year, maybe two. So it is actually possible that when I first got this knife, I might have actually been able to carry it then. But at the time, I was still under the impression that you needed a permit in order to be able to carry any automatic knife, and you also had to be 21. So, I think it's actually been about 2 years since I got this knife, maybe more. So, either way, it might have actually been before. But, regardless, since Blade Show, I've actually been carrying this thing quite a bit, just simply if for a little more purpose than to say, okay, I can finally carry an automatic knife, now I'm going to, and at the same time, I wanted to be able to finally get a review done on this thing. Now, I will also say that seeing as this is about 2 to 3 years old, and seeing as how long it might have sat in the showcase, because where this was actually bought was Smoky Mountain Knife Works. There's no telling how long it sat in that display case, so it might even be as old as 4 years. So, with that being said, I will also tell you the newest ones that have been made by Lightning. The springs were a little bit long, so this one actually fires much harder and more authoritatively than those did. But in upcoming production runs, they might have already come out with them now, but they're making the springs 10% shorter, so that way it fires about as hard as this does. They have also been modified since, so that way they're much smoother than this ever was or could be. And the ones that I handled at Blade Show proved every bit as much. In fact, while I was actually at Blade Show, the guy was actually taking a couple of them and cutting off some of the spring, so that way he can shorten it and modify it on the spot to be as powerful as this one. And so that does tell me that he was at least part of the company that does it. But I have no clue what company is actually supposed to be making these. If it's Lightning itself, I just can't find some kind of a parent company anywhere. So there's that. But as far as the knife itself, I do believe that this is a plastic handle. It might be aluminum, but I don't remember offhand, and I can't really find anything saying as much. But I think that this might be a plastic handle. But it could be aluminum, like I said. Now let's see. Like I said, on this one, the firing mechanism is actually quite strong. And I like that. If I'm getting an automatic knife, I want it to be very powerful. Something that I really like about this blade is the fact that you can get really high grinds, which allow you to get a beautiful mirror polish on it. And at the same time, it is still quite sharp and quite durable. The edge on this knife actually holds up very well. Let's see. I think that I got this knife around the same time that I got this knife and one other, although I don't remember what the third one was. Yeah, I don't even have the slightest recognition as to what the third one was. But this actually held up quite well. And I was not disappointed at all. Or this one did. But yeah, so 440C stainless steel. Now, I would like to see a higher grade steel than 440C, but for the price, then you really can't complain about it. I start complaining about 440C when I see $80 Benchmades, and they've got 440C. That's where I start to complain a little bit, saying you need to have a little bit better steel. But I think this is around like the $30 range, at which point 440C is perfectly acceptable. And like I said, with a polish like that, I'm really not complaining. The grip is actually more comfortable than I thought it would be, but the firing button does get a little aggravating if you're going for hard cutting tasks, but you actually can just simply choke up and rest your hand on the top of it. So just as long as you don't pull your thumb down too much, which quite frankly pulling your thumb down from here and getting it to go down is actually quite a chore. That's as fast as I can do it. And so it takes a dedicated force in order to do it. Just as dedicated of a force as it takes to push it upward. It is a little bit easier with my thumb being down here and having the necessary leverage. But for the people who think that this might come open in your pocket, I can guarantee you right now this thing will never come open in your pocket no matter what you do. You have to put a dedicated force in order to do it. And I've dropped this thing, I've purposely thrown this thing, trying to see if it would fire. But quite frankly, the mechanisms inside of this thing will specifically keep it from being able to fire. Because nothing is actually under tension until you push. When you push on this thing, now the springs are under tension, and by pushing just a little bit more, you finally release the mechanism that's holding it in place, at which point the springs that are taut on the bottom are now finally released, and they shoot the blade up. Yeah, excuse me. Now the springs are finally under no tension again. Pull them back down, and then again the spring is caught between the bottom and the top. Pull down just a little bit more, that tension is released, and it shoots the blade back down. So that's how the double action works. But you have to put a dedicated force enough to overcome not only the spring tension pulling it down, but also the locking mechanism that's holding it in place. As with all automatics, there is a small amount of blade play. Here, let me see if I can steady the bottom hand so that way you can see just how much. So as you can see, it does have that small amount of blade play. And for most knives, I would actually say that's far too much for my liking. But seeing as you virtually can't make it an automatic knife, at least an out the front automatic knife, without blade play. The only people who have been able to do it without are Grant and Gavin Hawk. And they have, as of yet, not released the designs to do that. Which is understandable. It makes more people go for their OTF. So, you really can't blame them. But yeah, so that means this is going to have blade play, and you really can't fix it. Because if you start fixing it, then you start tampering with the inner mechanisms, and you're going to tamper with the smoothness, and eventually you're going to have a knife that's possibly going to damage itself because it doesn't have enough blade play to function properly. Like I said, as far as edge retention, it holds up very well. The pocket clip, if it's not fully tightened down, then it will have a slight amount of play in it, at least mine does. But when I tighten it down to the point where the screwdriver almost starts to feel like it's about to flex, then it tightens it down fully and I can't move it. Let's see, what else? Carrying it in pocket, you virtually don't even know that it's there. It's incredibly lightweight. You really don't notice the fact that it's in your pocket at all. I really do like the fact of the very nice polish that they've actually got on this pocket clip. I have it since polished up just a little bit more, but not really all that noticeably. Just simply watching this video, you probably won't be able to tell the difference all that much between mine and yours. The grips on the side actually do work quite well. It does provide a decent amount of traction. Let's see, what else? Because of the nature of out-the-front automatic knives, you'll probably see a track start to wear on the side of this a little bit. It's not really coming up on the camera all that well. You can see a slight faint line going across the middle here, but that's really about it, though. The coloring actually holds up quite well. The couple of white marks that you see here is really the only marks on the blade. So, even the coloring on here holds up very well. Yeah, that's really about it. So I'm going to cut the video off there. And as always, YouTube, stay safe.